Hello, welcome back to Brace Yourself. I am your host, Rosanne Sorrentino, and I am sitting here with my guest today. Very excited to have John Ziegler, the comedian, here. Oh, very excited. Going to wait for some people to start jumping on. There's some people starting now. So I just returned from a ski trip with the family, and it was supposed to be like the whole family, but it wound up being me, my mother, and 5 kids between the ages of 20 and 26.
Who are the other 3 kids?
Friends of the kids. So it was the college weekend I never had. And it was insane. It was just, my mother was like, get me out of here. So it was a little crazy. And the most horrible thing happened. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Rooster. I left my hairdryer there. In the hotel. And I had to call, and my daughter had to go and pick it up and get me the hairdryer.
Sorry, I'm only distracted. There's a dog there.
There's a dog. Yeah, Lola. They know. Oh, they know about Lola.
Right, okay.
So it was.
As long as you don't think I'm ADD.
No. No. So it was very horrifying. I didn't know if I was going to get the hairdryer back, and I just got my hair cut recently, and this is not the cut that I asked for. So to not have the hairdryer was horrifying.
I've had this haircut since 1989, I think.
Well, it looks good on you. It looks good.
Less of it. Okay.
That's all right. No problem. So here we are. We have some more people on. This is John Ziegler. I am a huge fan. I love to see him do comedy. I love you make me laugh every time. Even if I've heard a couple of jokes a couple of times, they're still.
You're going to hear them a couple of times.
That's good. That's good because they're hilarious. So, all right. So I have my little cards here.
Right.
All right. So John Ziegler is. No, it was the 2015 or the 2016 because there was conflicting information about your title as the funniest comic.
I think it was 2015, but now that's like 5 years away, I think I just changed it on my website to make it 2016, 2017, so it doesn't seem like my credits are from 8 years ago.
Well, still.
I think it was 2015.
Still the funniest comic on the East Coast, and that was at Mohegan Sun. Exciting.
It's not as exciting. It sounds a lot more glamorous.
It seems.
Comedy contest. They are what they are. They're subjective. It was fun. It was a good experience. I was happy to win.
Sure.
I got $4,000 to win.
Ooh, okay. That doesn't suck.
So,
I mean, you know.
It's not a big deal like it sounds like. Very impressive.
Well, now you've worked with comedians. I took some stuff. I stalked you a little bit, John. I had to. Sebastian Maniscalco, Jim Brewer, Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes.
What, you've opened for them, worked with them?
Opened for them.
Really?
Yeah, so I did Sebastian. If you know Sebastian now, Sebastian's doing Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall. Mm-hmm. It was before he was at that level. So maybe like 5 years ago, he was a club comic, but he was like a really successful club comic. He was selling out like 10 shows in 3 hours. So I was opening him at the clubs here on Long Island, and then I ended up doing some shows in New Jersey with him. And he was awesome, but now he's on a whole nother.
Yeah, he's on a
whole other level.
He's up there where comics only hope to be. So, are you funny with your friends and family? I think people always want to know.
In a different way. I don't like comics that are always on. I find that very annoying. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, hey, the rubber chicken. Like, oh, shut up. Just answer my question. I think I've always been funny, but I'm kind of dry. I'm kind of sarcastic. What you see here, this is pretty much this is high energy for me.
Oh, Allie Walker just joined. Hi, Allie.
Hello, Allie Walker.
Yeah, I love Allie Walker.
Nice. So yeah, this is
high energy.
This is high energy, but I think I've always been funny. Like, look, if you don't think you're funny, choosing a career in stand-up comedy is an odd vocation. Like, you better think you're funny.
But I mean, I've met comedians before who are just like, blah, and then they get on stage and they come alive. But I don't understand.
I open for Gilbert a lot. You know, most people know Gilbert Gottfried. Mm-hmm. I've probably done 25 shows with Gilbert. Gilbert's the quietest, most soft-spoken man you've ever met in your life.
Really?
He sits like this. And then the light, like, you bring him out on stage, and he screams for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he comes off, and he's like, he's just really like, so he turns it on.
Really? All right.
But he's not always like in character. Mm-hmm. But he's still funny off stage. Like,
yeah.
The guy's so quick with it. Like, you talk to him and he just cracks you up. So funny, but not always on, like I said.
Right.
Those guys, irritating.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I just want to watch the game.
Yeah, you don't have
Like
to.
they're running bits by you and shtick, but they're not telling you it's a bit.
I was gonna say, do people do that to you all the time?
Yeah, it's horrible. It is. Nobody likes it.
All right, I won't do that.
No. They're like trying to like work their bit into a conversation like it's not a bit.
Right.
Like, oh, I was at the store today. You're not going to believe what happened. I go, oh, here we go.
Here we go. You know, and I was going to ask you because I heard somewhere that one of the ways that you should test out your material is to, not necessarily with other comics, but with just people, kind of work in stories that you're working on to see if they're
pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
I've been given different feedback from somebody who's very influential for me for comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's good depending on who it is, but comedy out of context, when you're telling a story to one person, that can be hard because if that person doesn't laugh,
right.
it can shatter your confidence in what could actually be a really good joke.
Right.
But it could fall flat in front of one person or not in context
Mm-hmm.
or not written. So the upside is your friend laughed at you. How much does that count for?
True.
The downside is your friend didn't laugh at you, and now you're questioning that joke you thought was gold like 15 minutes ago.
Or I'm questioning my friendship with that person.
Oh, you're questioning your friendship with them. Yeah.
So
like, that's, you don't laugh at that, we can't be friends
I
anymore.
don't know if we can be friends anymore. My best friend has been probably, she's seen you 100 times because she's, anytime that you've been at a show where I've been, she's been at almost every show. Like, she's the most supportive best friend ever. I think she's missed like 3 shows. So so what were you like as a child and a teenager? Were you always like a performer? Because I think you have to be some sort of.
No, I was never. I was always funny, and I always thought I could write and stuff like that. But I was pretty shy. I'm a little OCD, and I'm really like an overachiever. So like in school, I was the kid who like. But we got to bring like my homework's due. Like I got to do my homework. Like I was like having panic attacks at like 15 because I didn't do the math homework or something like that. Like always worried. And I wanted to be a comic since I was probably 10. Really? Yeah, my whole life. Like I watched Johnny Carson with my dad. I'm 52 years old, so I grew up on Carson in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Rodney Dangerfield, Young Comedian specials in the 80s. And I always wanted to be a comedian, but the idea of getting on stage in front of people, I couldn't even fathom. I used to get anxiety watching other people. Like just imagining being that person.
Huh. That's very interesting.
It took me so long to do this.
But you seem so incredibly natural when you're on a stage.
Now.
Yeah.
Now I feel comfortable up there. Like I don't even remember what it feels like. I'm like, what was I so scared about? I don't really remember it. But I remember when I started, I was paralyzed with stage fright. Not just scared. I was like, I would look down and I'd be like this and I'd have anxiety all day before the show. Wow. Like all day. And then the show would end and I'd be exhausted.
Because it
was just like mental energy. It's like driving home in a blizzard for 7 hours. Like you just get home, you're like, I would finish the show and I enjoyed it. But I'd be like, how do people do this every day? Like I need like 4 months to recover after a show. So it kept me from doing stand-up for a long time. And then you just dive into the deep end of the pool. And
that's it. And probably, well, now you started late by standards
I was 40, which is late.
Right. Yeah. But you had a lot of, we talked a little bit before, the podcast, and I kind of wanted to tell him to shut up, but I didn't because I didn't want to be rude, but he was saying some really good stuff, so I hope he tells me again. But
the stuff you're not seeing.
You had a few, you had a few different careers.
I had a lot of careers. I was a drug counselor for about 5.5 years. I'm not a recovering addict. Nobody in my family is. So that's a weird career choice. Because usually every addict, like every counselor you meet, there's addiction somewhere in their family. There's a reason that they're doing that.
Right.
And for me, I was just like, I think I was just lost. And like, my brother called me one day. He goes, "Hey, they got this counseling program up there." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And I went up, and again, I was an overachiever, so I became like the best counselor I could be. But I wasn't like, it wasn't my passion. Mm-hmm. Like as a counselor, I was just like, well, stop doing that. Like that was they're like, heroin's ruined my life. I'm like, yeah, don't do heroin. I was like, yeah.
That's good. That's good advice.
It was actually better than most of the advice they got.
Probably.
Oops, sorry.
Then you were a teacher?
I was a teacher for very short 2 years. I taught kindergarten and 4th grade.
Where did you teach?
Plainview, I taught kindergarten.
Okay.
And then I taught 4th grade in East Meadow. And I hated it. It was another one of those things. If you don't like, I don't love kids. If you don't like kids, probably shouldn't be in elementary school.
Yeah, especially elementary. What were you thinking?
It was less schooling.
Was it?
Yeah, because when I got out and when I went to meet with the counselor, I said, "What do I got to do if I want to teach high school? Like, we got to pick a major, like science or history." and then get your master's. And I'm like, what about elementary school? They're like, well, you just teach everything. I'm like, that one. B. I take B plus school. I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get there. So my first job, I got kindergarten because I was a man. It was opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So I was the only guy in the school. I'd never been around. I don't have any younger siblings and nieces and nephews. So I've never been around a 5-year-old until the day I walked into teaching kindergarten.
Oh, my God.
And I didn't know what they did. I'm like, I don't know if they shit in their pants. Are they doing math? Like, I don't know what is a 5-year-old. And I was terrible. And it was plain view. The parents, everybody, the kids are taking the LSATs already, like kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. They're already planning for where they're going to go to college. And
it was really stressful.
If he doesn't do well in kindergarten, he's never going to get into Cornell. It's like.
Yeah, 4th grade was East Meadow, which is more the way I grew up. I grew up with Beth Page. It was a little bit more blue collar. Parents were involved, but not too involved.
Right. Don't bother you too much.
Yeah, they showed up when I had to.
Oh, Jeff Bosey said Ziegler is very funny and talented. I think he's a comedian around the town.
There's a picture up. Let me see if I recognize him by his picture.
It's that tiny little thumbnail next to him.
Jeff Bosey. Oh, yeah, I know him. I've seen him around. Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't know my name. Sorry, Jeff.
It's a lot of comedians out there. So then you owned a gym.
I was in fitness for a long time. Again, not a passion of mine. I just, after drug counseling and teaching, I needed a job. My friends worked at a gym, so they're like, going to RKO. I was like, saying, I was like, yeah,
sure, that's good. Yeah.
And then I got certified, and I ended up becoming like the fitness director of the health club. I was in Woodbury. But it was before, that was back in the day before like it was LA Fitness and Planet Fitness and Retro. There was like mom and pop gyms.
Right.
So I just it was like Cheers the place. It was like everybody in Woodbury went and worked out there. And then I worked for other places and ended up buying my own studio in the 90s. That was in 2000s. And then I sold it in 2010 to do comedy.
Now, how do you just make that decision? How do you just wake up and say, yep, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind?
It's not an easy decision. And honestly, I hated my job. Like, I was doing really well. We were very successful in my business. And I had a sense of self-worth because I was a business owner and I made money. And I thought that thing was going to make me happy. That I never had that. Or I'm like, this is what I do now. I own the gym. And I was going out to like Brian and Cooper's Steakhouse. Those are my clients, Cipollini's and Toku and Peter Luger's, and I was living the life.
Yeah.
Hobnobbing with all these rich people, and I thought I would feel good, and I'm like, I don't feel too good. Like, I hate what I do. And hated my one partner. I had 2 partners. One of them was a good dude. The other one was a loser. And I just woke up one morning and decided I wanted to do comedy. Like, I was tired of letting that horrible. So I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
For anybody who's listening, I'm not saying don't quit your job and become a comic. It's not advisable. But I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids. I didn't own a home. Like, I leased a car. I rented an apartment. So I had a pretty, had a small nut and had big responsibilities. And I just literally woke up one day, walked into work, and I go, guys, I'm selling the business, and you can have it for 10 cents on the dollar. I'm going to be a comedian.
And they probably looked at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
What did your family?
My client, I used to have a lady, Lori, who was a sweetheart. Lori was like a Rich Sands Point woman. And she reminds me of, if you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, she's Susie Green.
Oh,
she curses, she's rich. She's like Susie. And she was just like, "Gotta be a fucking comedian. What are you, a fucking idiot?" She was just yelling at me, like in the gym. She goes, "You got a good business here. What are you got?" And I'm like, "I'm selling it."
Oh, God. And
the best is I opened for Susie Essman several times.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. And I told her, and then I called my client Lori and put her on like speakerphone, and I had Susie.
Yell at her?
Like, well, Susie won't do that. She don't like to do it. She's like the nicest person, Susie. She said, "I don't want to yell at people." Everybody wants her to yell at people.
Yes.
She says when she walks down the street, people will like take out their phones and be like, "Call my brother-in-law a four-eyed fuck." She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that."
Imagine?
And then they yell at her for not doing it. She goes, "Yeah, I don't want to call some guy I never met like an asshole."
I don't know. I might do it. That's kind of funny,
But,
So, what did your family think when you did this?
I'm really lucky because you would think at 40 years old, having a successful business, that my family helped me with the investment. Like my family actually gave me some money to help set up the gym, and then I was like, "I'm leaving, giving it away." Pretty much, I gave my business away practically. I mean, I got paid out, but it wasn't like a fraction of what I should have got.
I need to apologize for Lola. By the way,
not
she's like relaxing on his lap.
It's good. I just want people to think there's something wrong with me. I keep going like, you can't see the dog. It just looks like I have some low-level Tourette's.
That's why I figured I'd bring it up. The dog is right here.
My family was really supportive.
That's good.
You know, my mother, I'm youngest of 6 kids. My mother was an emergency room nurse. She always wanted to be a rock cat. That's what she tells me. She can't fancy. And I'm like, all right, rock cat. But she's like, go for your dreams. Don't do what I did. So she was really supportive. My brothers and my sister were all like, you should be doing this. This is your passion. It's what you've always wanted. Comedy's a weird thing. I see a lot of people trying comedy. I remember my first open mic, crystal clear. And I remember going to the clubs, Governor's Comedy Clubs, where I did my first open mic. And the best thing with Governor's is they just let me come and hang out on Thursday, Sundays when I started. Like I would go and sit in the back room and watch the shows. They just got the manager at the time was a guy named Tommy. Tommy's not there. He was a great dude. He left a while ago. Tommy used to be like, yeah, go sit in the back. So I would just go in the back on Thursdays, Sundays and watch the shows. And it was the first time I'm like, this is what I've been meant to do.
And
it was the first time I didn't have that weird, like, oh, what am I going to be? Like, I'm like, this is what I should have done 20 years ago. I knew it day one.
That's very true. I think when you figure out what you want to do in your life, that all the anxiety, all of the nerves, all of the questioning just kind of
it just felt like
falls away.
I used to say, like, when people go to church and like, I found God and this is my peace. And I was like, I found comedy. Like I walked into the comedy club whenever I was down, stressed. So I was working. I had my business still. I was working 12 hours a day. Go right to Governor's, and if I can only catch the last half an hour, because I worked, I'd catch the last half an hour. But I was around comedy when I started every chance I can. And then when I wasn't doing comedy, I was in a diner with other comics talking about comedy.
That's great.
Like it's all I did.
I was very lucky because we have the teaching thing in common, and I'm 3 years from retirement. So
well, we have it in common, but I talked for like an hour and a
right,
half. We're
okay,
gonna get a pension.
but still, I am, yeah. And I've been very lucky that I've enjoyed it, but performing has always really been what brings my personality out, like when I'm performing. So I understand when you say you figured out when you started comedy that's who you were. And that's
I wasn't even doing comedy. Like
right.
just I did like one open mic, but just being around it. I'm at the point now when I go even on the road to comedy clubs, I like comedy clubs have a smell, they have a feel, they're not beautiful.
No.
I go on the road, I'm in a green room. I'm like, what the hell was this? Was this a bathroom that you converted to a green room? Like I'm on a crate.
Or a hallway.
Like I'm just, and I'm like, this is, I love this. I touch the wood on the bar, and I'm like, I love the smell of the stage, the shitty old carpet on the stage. I love everything about a comedy club.
That's.
I do 2,000-seat theaters. Not me. I don't want to sound like I'm like I do 2,000. I open for people who do 2,000-seat theaters, and I would rather be at a comedy.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, it is very intimate.
It's intimate. There's something. It just feels more like comedy to me. Not that I don't like playing a theater.
Sure.
You know, you're 2,000 people. There's no wait staff. Everybody's looking straight ahead, and you're on a spotlight. You have their total attention.
Yeah.
There's no distractions. Nobody's sitting. Everybody's facing straight ahead. They all paid good money for their tickets. So like, shut up. We paid $60 a ticket.
Yeah. And this guy better be funny.
And it's a particular audience because I'm opening for a famous comedian. So the people are there to see Bobby Collins or Jim Brewer or whoever it may be. So it's a specific audience.
Do you feel extra pressure when you're opening for someone who's well known and going out there and, you know, because they're there to see them.
They're there to see them.
And you don't feel pressure of having to be, you know.
No, I'm really lucky actually because Bobby Collins, who's been around forever, he's the guy I tour with now. And I open for. Bobby's awesome. He mentors me. But Bobby wants me to kill. There are other comics that you open there, like they want to get like opener, go out, do 20 minutes, calm him down, then I'll come out and I'll level. Bobby wants me to kill.
That's a great mentor.
He wants the whole show to be good. He's certainly not. He's been doing it for 40 years. He's not worried about following me.
Right.
He doesn't care. Like I've had really good sets in front of him, and he'll just high five me and go out. People are like, what's he gonna do? I'm like, he's gonna be fine, and then I'll go and kill for an hour and a half. And I'm like, I don't think he's worried. So that's been an awesome experience for me. But I don't have any pressure to go. They're not there to see me.
What's the longest set you have that you've done?
I've done an hour.
You've done an hour.
Yeah, I've done an hour.
So I want to talk about that because being new to this myself, you know, I was like stressing over initially 7 minutes, just trying to come up with 7 minutes worth of stuff to talk about.
That's hard.
It is. And now I've been doing it, so it's kind of cool that, I have the 7 minutes. How do you build up from that 7 minutes to that hour? And there's my dog walking over you like you're nothing.
There is a dog.
Like you're nothing.
Yes, so you're
in
aware.
her way.
Right.
She comes with the show, and she's part of the charm,
Show business.
Dogs and children. But how do you build up to that from 7 minutes to where you have an hour's worth of material to choose from?
It's incremental. It doesn't happen in 3 months. It takes a long period of time. And people ask, well, how do you remember all that? It's reps. It's just repetition. So in other words, you start with 7 minutes. That's how everybody has to start. You have to have a 7-minute set that is stage tested. You know what it is. So on command, you walk down to the comedy club and I go, hey, Rosanne, you're going to do 7 minutes tonight. You're like, okay, I know what my 7 minutes is. I've rehearsed it. I've done it. I got it. Then you start to sandwich in a new bit here and there. Then you go to an open mic, you work a new bit. So you have your 7 minutes, and then somewhere in the middle, you do a new bit, maybe 30 seconds. And you have it. Sandwiching means I have a bit that works, and there's a new bit that might not go so well, and then another bit that works. So should it tank, you have a safety net.
Okay.
It's 30 seconds. It's not going to ruin your set. And then 7 becomes 8, 8 becomes 10, and just over time. Now, for me, my jokes are kind of clustered by topic. So I have stuff about my mom and my family. Then I have stuff about dating. Then I have stuff about work. So all my work, everything, as you get longer sets, everything seems to fall into a category, kind of. There's only so many categories you can really have. I mean, dating falls as a huge umbrella under marriage, kids, dating. It's all the same topic. Anything work related. I happen to do a lot of observational stuff, so a lot of that is they're kind of one-off jokes. Where does a joke about Dunkin' Donuts fall under? That's just a joke. But when you have 9 of them, I'm like, I'll put that in my Dunkin' Donuts chunk.
I was watching some of your stuff this morning, your Dunkin' Donuts, when you were talking about trying to eat healthy, and it's hard when you eat out every night.
Yeah, that was a true story.
You stop at Dunkin' Donuts.
There's one right over on 107. Like Hicksville. I went in there one night and I just wanted like a munchkin. Just like one. And I know you can get, I'm like, what can I get? I was like, oh, you can get one, maybe 35 cents. I'm like, okay. He's like, or you can get, and it was like, whatever the number, I exaggerated for the joke. He's like, 50 for, like, holy shit.
How do you not go
like, well,
for
that's
that?
a deal.
That is the deal. So, we answered a lot of these. You have any regrets?
I try not to do.
I don't want to say regrets, because regrets is not really what I mean. But do you say to yourself, you ever get angry with yourself, like, oh, I wish I would have done this sooner?
No, because I can't change time. That's
right.
Like punishing yourself. The bottom line is I did it. A guy, I won't mention his name because he hates it. He hates taking any credit for anything. He'll just yell at me for giving me credit. But my initial goal when I started comedy was to be a feature act at Governor's Comedy Club. On a weekend, on a Saturday night, to open for a Nick DiPaolo or whoever.
Right.
Somebody like that, Colin Quinn. I want to feature and do 20, 25 minutes in front of that. And now, if I could do that, that was my goal. And then you end up headlining. And then you go on the road and you headline. And then you get theaters. And you always want more. Like, I'm not satisfied with what I have. But I've already exceeded what I ever thought I was going to do. So do I wish I started at 22? Yeah, because I'm confident enough in myself to believe if I did start at 22, I'd have a career. Like something really good could have happened. I believe that. But I did more than most, I guess.
Well, I think personally, and what do I know? I'm sitting in my living room with a banner behind me that says "Brace yourself," but
and a brace.
And a brace. But I think, I don't know. There's just something about you. You're just not like everybody else out there. You're very unique. I find your humor very unique. The bit about your mom with her feet is just.
I try to really write, like this term hacky. Hack will kill. Hacks do well. Any city I travel to, there's the local hack who kills. And that's fine. If that's what somebody's going to be. It's not, I always want to be original. And if you write from personal experience, you're never going to be hacky because it's your experience.
Right.
Hacky is a term that's basically, Viagra, a 4-hour erection, call your doctor. I'm calling everybody but my doctor.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we get it. It's been done. It'll get a laugh. That joke I just did, kind of mocking, will get a laugh if I did it in a comedy club.
Yes.
Yes. It's a bad joke.
It's bad. Yeah.
It's a bad joke. It's obvious. It's been done 1,000 times. It's unoriginal, but it'll get a laugh. And you'll be getting laughs at the Ha Ha Hut for the rest of your life. Like that's the bar. That's
You
where the
set it
bar
very
is.
low.
Yeah, you set a very low bar, and if that's your job is to do it for ego, where I need a laugh every night, so I'm going to do these safe jokes that get me the guaranteed bum.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I want to still get that reaction, but I want to get it off of something really original. I care just as much what comics think as the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I probably care more what comics think and the audience. It may not be good. Like I want the guys in the back of the room that I respect saying that's a really good joke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when you were at the club and I was just starting, and you were at, and I don't even know if you've ever seen me do my comedy, but I remember just thinking,
little during the laugh off, but as you see what goes on during that, it's very hard for me to pay attention.
But I remember thinking, I just want him to not think, oh my God, like go home, lady, and bake a pie. Like I just didn't want
maybe sound like the most chauvinistic person
No.
in the world. You're like, I'll make a chicken pot pie.
No, I don't mean it like that. Just like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. Like, go home.
I've learned you don't know. Look, I can watch comics who are new and see who has maybe a little something. They think differently. They're original. They kind of have a certain mannerism to speak. There are people who say funny things. There's people who say things funny.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is some people write really funny stuff, and other people are just funny. They can read the alphabet, and they kind of make you laugh.
Yeah.
They say things funny. Ideally, you want both. Ideally, you want to have great material, and you want to have a great delivery. You want both. I strive for that. And the comics that I really like the people I look up to,
Mm-hmm.
are not all famous. There's some comics I watch and go, man, everything they did so good. Because they have both.
Is there a joke that you've heard a comic say that you say, God, I wish I would have thought of that? Like, is there
all the time.
like a favorite?
All the time. The guys I like, they're known in the comedy community.
Mm-hmm.
They're not known by the mainstream. Joe List, great comic. Mike Vecchione, great comic. Dan Natterman cracks me up. Locally here on Long Island, Joe DeVito and Matt Burke. Those are two guys that, like, for me, comedy's subjective, so I'm not like eliminating anybody. But those are guys who I watch. And I'm like, wow, that's such a good bit. Not just a good bit in terms of original, but like well constructed, delivered. It's like really good. I watched Joe List on, I think it was Conan. You get like 5-6 minutes on Conan. 5-6 minutes means 5 minutes and 40 seconds is 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Right.
Not 5:30, not 5:50. And he did one joke, a 5-minute and 40-second joke. And it comes back around and there's a callback. It's such a perfect joke. And I know Joe a little bit. We're not friends, but I worked with him several times. And he's a great guy. And I felt like a fan when I was working with him. I was like a Chris Farley character, if you've ever seen him.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
You remember you were in the Beatles?
Oh, yeah.
I was like that guy. I was like, the joke you did on Conan was so... I felt like a dork, but I was so like impressed by that joke.
Well, and that's very cool because like you've been doing this, so you're very, I don't want to say seasoned, but you're seasoned.
I'm 12 years in, which sounds like a long time, but I haven't even hit my stride. Like it's really like the guys I look up to, a lot of them are 20 years in, 25 years.
Where do you hope to be in another 10 years?
I hope to be still doing comedy.
Well,
but,
I meant in comedy.
Yeah, but I don't want to be a road dog. You know what I mean? But I don't want to be 58 years old and I'm in Poughkeepsie, the back of a restaurant. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
You'd like to have a little bit of a fan base. You'd like to, so that, you can sell some tickets and get to perform. And so I try not to think back because regret's not going to do anything for me.
Right.
I wish I was 25 when I started. Well, you weren't, so forget about it. And I try not to look ahead because I have a panic attack. Like when I started comedy at 40 years old, if I ever stop and go, well, I make $100,000 a year owning my own business, I'm going to sell that, and I'm going to do open mics at the Ground Round while people are playing skee ball for tickets next to me. That's what I was doing. For free. It cost me $50 to do this spot because I had to take trains in and then cabs and get home at 1 a.m. I did 6 minutes at the Ground Round. And I'm like, if I ever stopped and analyzed that, I'd be like, what am I, mentally ill? Like, what am I doing? There's no upside to this.
No, that's why I said was a very bold, brave thing. And I have a lot of respect for that because I truly.
I did have a plan.
Yeah.
In a way, that doesn't mean you can have all the plans in the world.
Right.
Mike Tyson has the greatest quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. I just like that quote. Because people would come to Mike Tyson like, I'm going to stay away, keep him away with my jab, and I'm going to do this, and he's going to get fatigued. And Tyson would just be like, yeah, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what comedy is. Like, you can diagram as best you can. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen. All you can do is keep your head down, work really hard. Like, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you think you're working hard, work harder.
Would that be your advice to new comedians? Jerry
Seinfeld. I'm not just a fan of the show Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people aren't as big as a stand-up, but he's just technically good at the stand-up as you get, even if you don't love what he does.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
Well, not everybody loves his stand-up, but when you listen to him talk about comedy, he's the prophet. Like, he just, everything he says, you're like, it's so insightful. And they asked him to do a comedy seminar, and they offered him like $1 million. He's like, yeah, I would never do that. I'm like, why not? He goes, because I would walk out on stage, and I had a big whiteboard, and I would just write work, and I'd walk off the stage. Because in the beginning, that's what it is. Once again, same fella who I mentioned before, who will remain nameless.
Okay.
So you just get mad if I say who it is. But he told me my first 1,000 shows don't count. And I was like, what? I was like 8 shows in. I was like, what do I do? Do I get a business card? Like, should I go on America's Got Talent? He's like, your first 1,000 shows don't count. And I was like, that seems like a lot.
That seems like a lot.
And then I got to about 1,000 shows, and I was like, yeah, that was about right. Like, I'm just starting to get my footing under me.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 shows for me was about 4 years.
Wow.
It's about 250 shows a year.
Do you? What does that mean? You got your footing? Like, do you feel like now you just
have to figure it out a little.
Mm-hmm.
One, you have 4 years now to write material, so you have a little bit of an act. You can't really work in comedy unless you have 15. You can do guest spots on shows, but you need 15 minutes. A host does 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and you really need 20 because 15 minutes to an audience when you're bombing is now 9 minutes.
Right.
Kevin Downey Jr., really funny comic. I don't know if you know who he is, Long Island guy who's on
Mm-hmm.
America's Got Talent. But I watched a comic do really well one night. But that guy's really good. He killed. He goes, you want to see a good comic? Watch a guy bomb for 20 minutes. And I wasn't quite sure what he meant until I bombed for 20 minutes in Connecticut.
I was just going to ask you about the first time or the most memorable time.
Memorable time bombing?
Bombing. Because that's got to be something you never forget.
I haven't had too many terrible ones. That
That's-
sounds silly
no,
to say.
That's great.
But in Connecticut, I went up there, and the headliner was like an old school comic cruise ship guy. The act was so dated. I won't even say what the act is because people know who it is
Mm-hmm.
based on the act, but it was like, I think he wrote these jokes in 1985. They were so dated. And he crushed. And I was just sitting there like, is this what I got to do? Like, these jokes. I don't even know if people get these references anymore. This is like shit that doesn't even exist.
Wow.
He's doing technology jokes from like, he's like, yeah, your VHS ever? I'm like, VHS? Like, what? He was old. Like he's been on the boat for 30 years. And there was no
And you didn't
contact to
catch
the
up,
outside
yeah.
lands. Like, he's wrote a joke on a desert island. And I had a rough set. I did 20 minutes, and I came off, and I had a friend there, and I was like, I had a good set. And she was like, you bombed. Like, how was that? You bombed. And I was like, ah.
How do you keep going though? Like, how do you not want to just walk off the stage and
But
just
you
be
learn,
like,
that's what I mean. You learn how to not speed up.
Mm-hmm.
You learn how to smile and commit to your jokes. I used to do a joke when I started that was kind of it was a dirty joke. And it was a cheap joke. I thought it was a good joke at the time. Just got a big laugh. Remember, I told you about those jokes.
Mhm.
This joke, I would be hesitant on the punchline because I'd either get a big laugh or I'd get a And Joe DeVito told me to physically step into the joke, like literally with your body. I would do the punchline, and I would step forwards and lean into it. It's like your body language, and you just like commit to it. And I remember doing that. Almost telling the audience this is fun. And I would wait, and I'd smile, and I'd turn. It would groan, and the groan would turn to a laugh. And I was like, oh, that felt very powerful. Like, I like what just happened there. Like, I was like I control your brains. Like, watch
That's
what I just did.
that's very cool. I never.
So you do learn these tricks
Mhm.
in performing. But when you can not doing well for 20 minutes and you just don't care as much, it doesn't matter. I've done those jokes in front of 500 other audiences. They've done really well. If this crowd doesn't like me, I'm not going to rap. Like, I have a pretty good sample size. Well, if 499 out of 500 crowds like me, that's a really good ratio. I'll sign up for that. But when I'm bombing, I just smile and I do my jokes. And as you get better, you learn how to kind of go in and out from crowd to your act. I'm not a crowd work guy.
Mhm.
I don't like forced crowd work from anybody.
Right.
People think crowd work is, that guy's so quick on his feet. And I'm like, no, those are like stock jokes. Like, he knows exactly where he's leaving the audience.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Like, that's not, he didn't just think that up on the spot.
That was one of the things that I learned when I took the comedy class, is that everything is planned. Nothing is off the cuff, really, for the most part, in your act.
And you're right.
I think there can be times when you,
of course, they're uncontrolled. They're things that organically happen in an audience, and you have to address them.
Mhm.
You know, a guy falls out of his chair, or some girl snorting when she laughs on top of her lungs. You can't just power through and just ignore that. What's going on over here? Sometimes it's comedy gold. Excuse me. It's better than anything you can write. And other times you got to address it, know how to get out of it. It all comes just from being on stage.
Just from being on stage. What is your favorite joke that you do? What's your favorite
That I
one?
do?
Or yeah.
My favorite jokes are.
And do you laugh at your own jokes when you're writing them?
Yeah, I laugh when I write them. The worst part is I laugh a lot when I write them. But the success rate of what makes my act is probably less. It's less than 10%. So if I write 10 jokes, if one of them makes the act, that's a really good ratio. So 90% is going in a book someplace, and maybe I'll revisit it one day.
Mhm.
But I laugh at all of them, which makes you feel weird when I do it. 90% of them are bombing.
But you thought they were funny.
I thought they were funny. My
Yes.
favorite joke is the stuff about my mom right now is my favorite stuff because it's personal to me,
Mhm.
and it gives me a different reaction from the audience after the show. Look, I can do jokes about Dunkin' Donuts or a Chinese restaurant, and people go, hey, the joke was really funny. Like, thanks. When I talk about my mom and my mother having Alzheimer's and Medicaid, so many people go through it. I like the connection
Mhm.
I feel with people because they're like, dude, I went through that. And it's like I get, like, you made something funny that is really
It's hard to
uncomfortable for me.
It's hard to find the funny in that for people, and so you're making.
Yeah. Like, I joke about my mother. That was like the worst. It's the worst thing I've ever gone through. I
Yeah.
spent a year and a half like having a mental breakdown with my
What?
mother, like literally.
Sure.
So when I go on stage and I can actually laugh about it and joke about it, find a way to talk around that,
Mhm.
that feels good to me. So
What did she think? She saw you perform, I'm sure.
when she had a brain,
What
yeah.
did she?
Before what was going on?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did she think? What was that like for you? Because you said they were very supportive. She said go for your dream.
She was happy. I mean, a lot of jokes. I had jokes about my mom before she was sick, when we were driving. I had jokes about my mother driving the car and stuff like that. She liked being part of the act. My mother's not funny. My dad was a really funny guy. My mother doesn't have that funny bone.
No.
Now she tried to be funny. She's not funny.
So you got it from your dad.
I get it from my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, and my family. My brothers are funny. My sister's funny.
Yeah, you got
I
a
have a funny
bunch
family.
of bunch of
And they're,
siblings.
my oldest brother's an engineer, and he's not funny. He tells a story, you poke your eyes out. You're like, oh my god, get to the end of the story.
Oh, all right. So this has been. Oh my goodness! Look at all these people. Take a dive, Mom. What?
Oh, it's a joke I have.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
It's a joke.
Oh, she saw you at the Patchogue Theater.
Oh, very nice. That was the show with Bobby.
Yeah.
Saturday at the Patchogue Theater. Look at that.
Wow, look at that.
Jane Scherer.
Jane Datey.
Jane Datey.
So how often do you try new material in your
Yeah, pretty often.
is it?
Yeah, like you pick and choose where you're gonna try it. That's what open mics are for. Like if I'm going to the Patchogue Theater in front of 1,000 people opening for Bobby Collins, I could be like, I got this new Dunkin' Donuts joke. I'm gonna see how this goes. Then you go up, you think it's great.
Yeah.
It was hilarious in my basement. Then you go up in front of 1,000 people and just people staring at you. So
Crickets.
I don't do new material there.
Right.
That's the act. Governors, I've been there for 10 years. They trust me. They know what I do. I'm not going to get scolded if I go up there and bomb for a minute. If I take a risk, they want you to constantly. I'm there a lot, so you got to write new material. You can't keep doing the same 15 minutes every time you're at the club. After a while, people have seen you.
Yes.
So I have my act. I can't rewrite a new act. But I'm always going to try to sandwich in new stuff. But that's what coffee houses and bars are for, to work on that. And then when I feel like I've said it a few times, I'll take it to a club and try it.
Well, that's my mother said to me. She was coming to see me. She goes, "Do you have anything new?"
Yeah, you're not
I was
gonna
like,
have
"Mom,
anything
I've
yet.
been doing this for a year. I'm lucky I remember all the stuff that I've been saying."
It's a tough, like I remember when I started, like I was getting spots at Governors, but I got like 7-minute spots. It meant the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid to do new material. Because I'm like, what if it doesn't do good? They're not going to have me back. So like, I think for like a year at Governors, I was like, oh, 40 for $1.99. I was like, oh, I can't say this anymore. I'm sick of it. But I was afraid to do newer stuff then. And you have to find that it's different for everybody. Guys like I mentioned Joe DeVito a lot. Joe DeVito I mentioned because he writes in volume. I don't know anybody who writes in the volume that he writes. And then I watch him do like 15 minutes of new material one night, and I go, it's kind of polished. It's pretty good. Like it's almost like you've been doing this. It's a new bits. But he writes in such, and I don't write in that volume. You know, if I get a couple of new minutes.
Do you write every day?
I try to write every day. I'm always writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I work in a gym 2 mornings a week, and I have a pad that I keep to the side because if I'm in the middle of like training somebody, my memory's for shit. So
Yeah.
I have to go and write it down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'll be driving home and be like, what was it? It was so good.
It was so good, I can't remember it.
And then I finally remember it like a day later. I'm like,
It was right.
Like here's what I wrote down today because I forgot this joke 2 weeks ago. And it's been haunting me for 2 weeks. And then I remembered it. I'm like, is that funny? I don't know if it's funny. Because I went to a restaurant by myself, like an upscale restaurant. I went to Rare 650 Steakhouse.
Okay.
I just went in on a night by myself. I'm going to sit at the bar with my book and have a steak. And I saw friends there. And the girl's friend was like, sit down, join us. I'm like, I don't want to. He's like, no, sit down. And I ended up ordering a steak, and a sushi roll, and a drink. It's like a $200 tab. So when the bill came, I feel uncomfortable. So I lean over to my friend. And I go, Daddy, should I here's money. Just give it to your brother-in-law. Like, I feel weird. I don't know how to act. And he wouldn't take my money. And he goes, I asked you to sit down. He goes, no. He goes, I asked you to sit down. And I like a free meal as much as this guy. So in my head, I was like, well, you did ask me to sit down.
You did.
Like, you did. I didn't ask to sit here. You asked me to sit down.
I was very happy at the bar with my notebook.
So that's the whole premise for a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Is, well, you asked me to sit down. So money back in the pocket. And I just write that idea down. And in my head, I'm like, God, that's going to be so good. And then you don't move sometimes. Then you go up and just people just looking at you. You bomb. And you're like, all right, maybe that was. But for 2 weeks, I'm like, I have to remember that comedy gold. And then it turns out to be shit. And you're like, all right.
Well, you can't win them all. But so where are you going to? Where are you going to be?
I'm going to Newington, Connecticut. Don't know where it is. Never been there. It's called Newington, Connecticut.
Okay.
And then I'll be with Bobby Collins again. I'm doing the Count Basie Theater, which is in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I've been there before. That theater's gorgeous. Like a 2,000-seat beautiful theater. And then I have a bunch of private things on Long Island. Nothing glamorous. I wish I had.
All right.
Yeah,
No, that's still
glamorous.
good. And it's your website is JohnZieglerComedy.com or
That's
just
it.
right?
Yep.
JohnZieglerComedy.com.
Right now, I'm off the grid. All I have is a website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on anything. Like you
I
can't,
know.
I've been scrubbed from the internet.
You really have.
Like
I don't know how you managed to
like a
do
serial
that.
killer.
That is a gift if you can do that.
But I do that. It's a conscious choice that I don't really like all this stuff. I'm 52 and I grew up with landline phones against the wall. I want to go back to that. But I'm not living in the real world. And in this business, you have to be on social media. So I've met with a marketing company. Yeah. And I'm going to be discussing Instagram and new website and content and YouTube page and all that other stuff. Yeah,
I'm trying to use Instagram more. I heard Instagram is really the way to.
It seems to be.
Bigger than Facebook. And
it seems to be. But again, I'm not any of it. It's great for a 12-year seasoned comedian. Like, where do we find you? I'm like, you can't.
You can't. It's impossible. I searched. The only thing you can find are your some of your clips.
I have a couple of clips up.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2. There's a really funny thing. Neil Rubenstein, very funny comic friend of mine, he saw me headline at McGuire's one night. And He watched the first show. I do 2 shows that day.
Mhm.
And he's
Oh,
a lot
I
of
just worked with him. He is very funny.
yeah,
Big guy,
the
right?
tats and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
beard. Yeah, it's hard. It doesn't take a lot of description. To
No.
describe Neil. You're like, does he have tattoos? Like, he has neck tattoos and knuckle tattoos. You know which guy I'm talking about? Very funny though. Very dry. He's very smart. And I'm friends with Neil. He watched my first set and he noticed a lot of my bits revolve around money.
I saw that. I didn't watch that one actually.
So funny. So he had a buddy of mine, my friend Ryan, came down with his camera. He called him and goes, "Get down with your camera." They recorded my second set, 45 minutes, and then they edited it. And it's just every time I mention money. So there's a 2.5-minute reel of me just being like $1.50, $4, $6, $2.50, and it's all from the same show.
But it's just about
But
money.
you like, wow, I really mentioned money a lot. And he posted it. He sent me like a very nice message. He posted it the next morning. I woke up at like 8 in the morning. I'm like, what is this? And he's like, John's a friend of mine. He's really funny. This is with love. Like he thought I was gonna be like annoyed, and I watched it. I'm like, it's the funniest.
Now I have to go watch. I have
you
to
can
go
get
watch
that on YouTube. John Ziegler talks a lot about money. That's the
Yes, that's exactly what it's called. I saw it this morning. I watched your one clip. So John Ziegler, I did find out you don't do a lot of these podcasts, and you're here,
yeah.
and I'm honored.
Thank you.
I really am.
I'm starting to enter into the
I'm
2020. I'm on board now.
I kind of felt like when you said yes, I kind of felt like, ooh, it's like a big, like a mark in the positive.
This is your credit.
Yeah.
I've had John Ziegler on my podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Don't ever tell people that.
Yes, I will. I will very much tell people that. Look, you had somebody who was in your audience on Saturday, Jane. She tuned in, and I just think you're very funny, and I love knowing you, and I love that.
Thank you.
You're very giving, as far as when you talk to comics, new comics, my daughter, young comics. I think you are a very giving person in that you're
Bridget is very funny.
Bridget
I would
is
just say
very
that she's
funny.
very funny. She's very original stuff. Very funny.
Yeah, you should try living with her. She's a freaking laugh riot.
Well, I did. I ran the brokerage open mic for about 6 years, six and a half years, which is basically a new town, new people coming through. I used to sit in the class with John Truson a lot. I'd like to go down and hang in the class and I watch it. Comedy is my thing. I love it. I'm really passionate about it. I've had people who were very nice to me and helped me when I started. I can list the comics who were headliners when I started. That to me, they may not be famous, but they were to me. At the time, I was like, oh wow, I used to watch them. They were doing 45 minutes. They were crushing, and I was working on my 7.
Yep.
And now those guys are my peers. They're my friends. So I always, when I talk to new comics, I always try to think like, what would I would have liked to have known?
Right.
Could have saved me, because you can spend a lot of time spinning your wheels. I know guys who've been in open mics for 5 years and they're not really getting comedy 101. It's because nobody can show them like, you should do this, you should do that. And it's partly how to be a better comic. I'll help people with the idea of writing or ideas or structure, but it's also the business of comedy. There's a business. You want to work. There's ways to get into clubs or to get on. People always want to know, how do I get on this? How do I get on that? And that's just as important.
Oh yeah, because it's I'm in the we'll talk after, but I'm in the land of the bringer right now, which is great, but also how many friends do you have?
Well,
that'll just keep going and keep going.
But I'll tell you my view on you. You got a minute for me to
tell you? Go ahead.
Here's the thing with bringers. A lot of people poo-poo on bringers, like it's the worst thing and everybody's a credit. It's not true. I ran a brokerage open mic was a bringer show. You can talk to any comic that ever did my bringer show. I always tried to guide them in the right direction. Yes, I made money off them bringing people.
Sure.
So obviously I want them to bring people, but I'm also not, I'm not a pimp. I'm not just like, get you 6 people. Like I want you to do what's best for you. But in the beginning, when you start, there is no stage time available because you took a comedy class.
Right.
You got to start by doing open mics. Open mics, you're in front of 8 other comics on their phones who can care less about what you're saying for the most part. Unless you play to the room, which means you're going to do a bunch of inside jokes, do a bunch of like lowbrow dick jokes, and they're going to look up from their phones. So you don't want to do that because that's a waste of your time. You want to work on your act. So you're talking to a bunch of this. That's what you're talking to. The bringer shows, like Brokerage Comedy Club, Mike Nicolia runs that now. Mike's running that.
I'm doing one Friday, actually.
This
Friday, yeah.
At the brokerage.
Yep,
The
10:30.
one? Awesome. Yeah. So, and I know he's packed them out the last couple of shows. I bet they're both like so the last few he's done have been like sold out. Which is,
Yes.
So that's the difference. You get a real audience. Instead of being to 8 comics like this, you're now performing to 175 or 180 people. You can get a better measure. Are these jokes funny? These aren't people. These aren't comics. These aren't people who don't want to be. These are people here to watch me. They don't know anything about you. You can't do them all the time because your friends will hate you.
Yes.
They'll like, stop calling me. Oh no, Rosanne's calling. You're like, change.
Block.
It's, we all went through it. I remember doing the city. I did Bob the Bono to produce shows in the city. A friend of mine. And he was just the guy producing shows. I'd have like 7 bringers or like 1 in the afternoon. By 3, I had 5. And by 6 o'clock, I was down to 4. And then by showtime, I'm like, nobody's coming, Bob.
It's tough.
And I would confirm with them. And then they just start to drop off.
Yeah.
And then, but guys who are ethical understand. This is the business. It's going to happen. We all did it. So, and then there were other people who, there are some bottom feeders.
Yeah.
They want your 6 people. They want your money. You're going to be at, Greenwich Village Comedy Club at 11:30 at night on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Your friends are like, I gotta work in the morning.
Yeah.
The drinks are $17 a drink. Like, I gotta go. I'm never coming here.
And there's only nachos on the menu.
There's 37 comics. They're like, Rosanne, you'll be up 25th.
Yeah.
You're like, is that even still Tuesday? Like, we might be past midnight. I did it. You have to find out who does a good bringer. Where is there a good crowd? There's, you pick and choose them, but they serve a purpose. They're not these evil things that people think they are. They're really good.
And I personally find knowing that you have somebody in the audience, for me right now, is a little like, all right, good. Okay.
Yeah,
somebody I know is, it's like a little comforting.
And they put up guest spots. You'll have I used to have like 5 or 6 pro comics on the show. So it was an entertaining show.
Yeah. As
opposed to being the back of a restaurant with 32 bringer comics.
Right.
Like there's no relief. Not to sound like I'm being like a diva or something, but some new comics are not great at this. If you have to sit through 11 of them in a row, sometimes your friends, you look at them, they have this, like, they prisoners of war, they're just like, is it over?
You're like, please don't leave, I'm up in 3, I'm up in 3.
Yeah,
please don't leave.
Nothing better than, just a few more. You guys ready for your next comic? Just a few more. And they're like, you said that 7 comics ago. So, it's a necessary evil. I digress.
Well, no, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on again. You're funny. You're just a joy. That's such an old lady thing to say, but you really are. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Look at the swag.
I do. I have, and the mug. Look at that. Huh?
So I didn't know what you were going to do when you started this because you had actual neck surgery.
I did.
You had the neck. I'm like, she's really committed to this neck brace. Like she's got merch, and I go, what happens when your neck gets better?
But now it's just brace yourself.
Now it's just brace
you
yourself.
never know
I see what's
going to happen. So brace yourself.
I'm like, she really committed to this neck brace gimmick. She can never take it off.
That's what. Now it's just kind of like a little prop in the back. There it is. Hey, I owe a lot to this neck brace. You're sitting in my living room right now.
That's right. If I didn't feel bad for you for having a neck surgery.
Exactly. It garnered a lot of sympathy, so it worked to my benefit. All right. So everybody, thank you very much for joining us at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. Don't you people work? Like, don't they have jobs? So, no, I'm glad.
Be a comic. You can do this all the time.
Now, tomorrow, please join me tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I will be interviewing Michael Bolson, owner of Verace and part of the Bolson Restaurant Group. Very excited because Verace is my favorite restaurant. And I'm excited to talk to Michael. And shameless plug time, I will be at Barton's Place at 9 o'clock on Friday, and then 10:30 I'm racing over to the Belmore and doing because I double booked myself accidentally. I thought Barton's was in March. It's like a bar, a pub.
A pub, and
they're doing a comedy.
So is it a John Patera?
Yes, it is. Yeah, you're good.
Not my first rodeo.
So if you get a chance and you're out tomorrow and you want to come and see some comedy, I'm doing that. And again, John, thank you very much. You guys can catch this if you only came halfway through. I'm going to put it up on YouTube later. And if you have the opportunity to see Mr. Ziegler do comedy, I implore you to do so because he is very, very funny.
JohnZieglerComedy.com.
There it is. All right. Bye, everyone. And there it is.